What's up, Dodgers Nation? On this episode of the 3 Up 3 Down podcast, I'm talking about the Dodgers getting knocked out of the playoffs in a Game 6 defeat against the Atlanta Braves. Welcome back to the 3 Up 3 Down podcast. My name is Eric Yulo, your host for this 5-minute Dodgers Nation production. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. That is at EEULAU. I'm recording this on Sunday, the day after the Dodgers 2021 season ends, losing Game 6 of the NLCS to the Atlanta Braves, who are headed on to the World Series. All the credit should go to the Atlanta Braves. They did a fantastic job. They were the better team in that series. At the end of the day, for the Dodgers, it boiled down to injuries, starting pitching, and poor offense that doomed this team, and it's the reason they will not be going to face the Houston Astros to the World Series to defend their 2020 championship. And look, every team deals with injuries. No one should feel bad for the Dodgers. They shouldn't expect any pity from any baseball fans, especially with how many fans hate the Dodgers, and they should, because we've been good for a long time. I say we, I'm not actually on the team. But look, the Cardinals were missing Jack Flaherty for their wild card game. The Giants were missing Brandon Belt. The Braves, as they talked about on the broadcast, missing Ronald Acuna, who's one of the 5, 8, 10, whatever you want, best players in baseball. They're missing Mike Soroka. He has been great for them, and they are missing him too. Every team deals with injuries. But you think about a team with the Dodgers that started the season with 7 legitimate starters in spring training. If you don't want to count David Price, that's fine. 6 legitimate starters. And the wheels just came off. You lost Dustin May in May. And Dustin May is a guy that contributed at a high level. He's a guy that pitched some high leverage innings in Game 5 of the World Series. He pitched the 7th and most of the 8th for the Dodgers in that Game 5, holding the Rays to 0 runs scored. He was a key piece that they lost. He was a crucial arm. And that moves you to putting more pressure on Julio Urias and Walker Buehler. Now, for Walker Buehler, the increase in the workload I don't think is as big of a deal, but for Julio Urias, it certainly was. When you think about it, including playoffs in 2019, Urias pitched 83.1 innings. I'm not talking about 2020 due to the shortened nature of that season. And then he goes to 200 innings. 200 innings in 2021, 140% more innings than his highest workload ever. And Dave Roberts even said in spring training, having Urias start more than 30 games would be reckless. Well, they had to because of the Dustin May injury, because they lost Trevor Bauer to his legal trouble. I understand why they had to do it, but I think we can all agree that Urias just was not quite right. So you lose Dustin May, you lose Trevor Bauer, and then you lose Clayton Kershaw. So you started the season with 6 legit starters, and you finish your season. You lose Game 6 with 3 actual starting pitchers on that rotation. Gonsolin was in and out with injuries for most of the year. He was never effective. They never trusted him for any consistent spot in the rotation or anything in the playoffs. But look, the starting pitching injuries had a huge ripple effect on the Dodgers. They had to overwork Julio Urias. They put a lot of pressure on Walker Buehler, and they put a lot of pressure on Max Scherzer. You want to blame it all on Dave Roberts? Go ahead. But that was a tough situation for any manager to navigate, and the starting pitching just put a huge crunch on Julio Urias, Walker Buehler, and Max Scherzer. To lose Clayton Kershaw, Dustin May, and Trevor Bauer, that is incredibly tough. And the fact this team still won 106 games despite all that speaks to that. How good this team is, how talented they were. There are no moral victories, but to really think that this team backed their way in to an NLCS just 2 games away from getting back to the World Series after all the injuries to the starting pitching, and we'll get to the injuries to the bats here in our next segment. The Braves were able to overcome losing Ronald Acuna Jr. in July and missing slugger Jorge Soler in the NLCS. And for the Braves, other guys stepped up in that outfield with Jorge Soler gone. But for the Dodgers, not able to overcome, not having Max Muncy and not having Justin Turner, which created a situation where you had guys playing out of position. You had Chris Taylor at third. He looked fine there. But Bellinger playing first, which was his natural position when he first came up, created that opportunity to have Gavin Lux in center field, and you have that bad air in Game 4. Look, not a whole lot the Dodgers could do because of those injuries. I don't blame Lux all that much. Look, he hasn't played a ton of center field, just a tough position all around. But those injuries to Max Muncy and Justin Turner created that situation. Justin Turner never really looked healthy in the playoffs. The stats reflect that. And you can't help but think, what would this be like with Max Muncy, who is an MVP in the first half? Injuries happen. It's part of baseball. No one should feel bad for the Dodgers like we talked about. But when you're losing 2 key pieces in Justin Turner and Max Muncy. Other guys need to step up for the Dodgers, and that simply did not happen in the NLCS against the Atlanta Braves. The seventh inning was a perfect representation of what has been so frustrating about this Dodgers offense in the playoffs, and that is timely hitting. I know it's a big buzzword, but you go back to the seventh inning, runners on second and third. You're down 4-2, 0 out, and you can't even get a ball in play. Now look, Braves reliever Tyler Matzek was absolutely dealing. Credit him for that. But Pujols, Steve Souza, and Mookie Betts can't even get the ball in play. And for the playoffs, with runners in scoring position and 2 outs, the Dodgers had a combined OPS of 646. They had the most at-bats in the playoffs with runners in scoring position and 2 outs and just couldn't cash them in. The offensive consistencies doomed this team. That's it. I'm way over my time, but hey, the Dodgers got knocked out of the playoffs. Need a little extra time to talk about it. But thank you for watching all year. This podcast will keep going throughout the offseason. Don't you worry. You won't miss this beautiful face that was made for radio. Please subscribe, rate, review to the Dodgers Nation YouTube channel. Check out the Blue Heaven podcast, the live stream on Mondays, and Dodgers Dugout with Doug McCain. Thank you, and I will see you on the other side.